It's draft week, and there's no better guest to have on Roundball Roundup than the Vice President of Player Personnel, Bart Taylor, on the program today. Thank you so much for stopping by the studio.
Thanks for having me.
So, normally I don't start by looking at my phone for a podcast, but the greatest photo on the internet is out there, and it's you playing for Trinity hoops, and you have Chris Paul's shorts on from the commercial. They're the longest shorts I've ever seen. Explain to me what's happening in this picture.
Yeah, I think they're actually rolled like twice as well. Like I remember when they gave them to me, I said, these are larges? And they were like, yeah, or maybe a medium. I was tiny. And I remember they gave it to, I was like, I can't even put the ball between my legs. Like, how am I supposed to play a game in these? And they were like, that's all we got. Those are the smallest shorts they had. And I knew I knew those pictures would come back to haunt me at some point, but I was still very proud of the look. I think I pulled it off okay.
Well, and that was the style of the day.
Yeah, it was. That was the style of the early 2000s for sure. Not the best look though.
The NBA draft photos from that time are amazing. Of even Darren and Chris Paul at their draft day, their shorts were way past their knees. Yeah. If you get that information on a draft prospect, does that make them go up or down? Like for you, your scout.
Well, I mean, we try to just stick on how they play on the court, and how I played would definitely move my stock down. But no, we would definitely have to dig in a little deeper if we saw a picture of a guy like that, for sure.
So explain to me your career at Trinity. You played there for 3 years. What was the experience that you got there? Because obviously it led to a front office role, and it led you to an internship out there with the San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah, I was very lucky. I played 3 years there. I had made some amazing friends, amazing guys that we still stick together, and we actually have a fantasy football league that's been going strong for 15, 16 years now, that we try to get together once a year and catch up. And so it was a great experience for me to learn and grow and make lifelong friends, like I said, and just to be able to play basketball and learn from the coaches there. And the way we played was a very free-flowing style. We didn't have plays. We just had more concepts, similar to kind of the NBA now. And then we, and I think that really helped us kind of all learn the modern game in a way. And from that, I got very lucky to be able to join the Spurs and start in the G League with the Austin Toros at the time, and then grow from there. So I've been very lucky.
Explain to me what an intern does at that point, because I bet it's all-encompassing what you're doing.
Yeah, the staffs were much smaller. Even that was only 12 years ago and 13 years ago, and the staffs were much smaller. And so I literally went from Trinity, where I had no idea about professional basketball, even D1, what went into everything, and I show up, and actually Steven Schwartz, who works in our front office, was the other intern with me in Austin. And he had been there already a year. So he's kind of showing me the ropes of hey, we got to put together these water bottles. We got to get towels out. We got to put balls here. We got to do all this. And this is all 3 hours before practice starts. And then during practice, all the little things we had to do. And I just had no clue all the stuff that went into just preparing the locker room for a game night, getting the jerseys laid out, how you fold the towels. I had to have a whole lesson from the trainer on, hey, this is exactly how we fold the towels, and we stack them this way. And just seeing all those little things that went into a professional sport was crazy for me to see, and very eye-opening. And it was amazing, just learning all that stuff and being exposed to everything.
So how similar is that structure to what you come in with the Jazz? Because there's been a lot of discussion about how Utah modeled themselves after San Antonio modeled themselves after Utah. There's a lot of crossover there.
Yeah, a lot of crossover. Obviously, even more now with Will coming here from his experience. And I think people say we model each other, but I think Dennis and myself and Justin, everybody's kind of put their own spin on things as they've come here and learned. Definitely a lot of the core values are very similar. But I think overall we want to be the Utah Jazz. We want to take the good things we learned from the past places that we've been, all of us, and then kind of put our own mix on the group, I guess, and make it better. And put our own influence into it, I guess is a better way to say it. And we definitely don't want to just be Spurs 2.0 or whatever.
Right.
And I think we've done a good job of that. And I think Will, Justin, Danny in particular, like they've all brought their own, experiences to this group, and the way they're leading it has been great. Like the values, what they really believe in as for players, and the direction they've given me on going out and scouting players has been really helpful. And it's been really, really fun to like work with them and see what we can come up with.
Sticking on the internship with San Antonio, you interned with Will Hardy.
Yeah, so I came in, he had been there a year in the front office, and then he moved to the video room. And so the Spurs had a setup where they had one video intern and two front office interns, and they all shared an apartment. So it's actually myself, Will Hardy, and then Andy Birdsong, who works in Brooklyn as their assistant GM. And so a pretty good intern house as it's turned out. But Will was, he was a great roommate. He always kept the apartment nice and cold because we didn't have to pay the bills. So that was good. But Will was, it was fun. It was a fun time, and it's pretty cool to see him now as the head coach, and knowing that, all those years ago, we kind of started out on similar tracks.
Aside from keeping the house cold, what else is the roommate scout? Was he dirty? Was he a clean freak? What was he?
No, Will's clean. Will's very clean. Yeah. He's very clean. He's very on top of everything. Like his car was always very clean. Mine's always very dirty. So that stood out to me when I got in his cars a couple times. I was like, man, I gotta get my act together. Like,
so you could tell this guy could be an organizer. He's on top of his stuff at that point.
Yeah. No, he was. Yeah, no, I could, like, in all seriousness, he was very impressive. Like, they would have him do player development stuff with the young guys that would come up. So like if they had a 10-day or things like that, and they'd say, hey, Will, why don't you take this guy in the summer, or why don't you just work with him? And just his command, his voice, like I'd be on the court rebounding for him, and just the way he spoke to the players and the confidence level he had even at that age of delivering the footwork or the skill that he was teaching was impressive at even just such a young age. Of, man, this guy's in the video room as an intern, and he's talking and I was just like, wow, he's talking to this guy like he's been coaching for 15 years type of deal. So I was pretty impressed just back then at how he was able to command and deliver what he wanted to get across.
So it coming full circle, how have you seen him now that he's a little bit older, a little bit wiser? Yeah,
the thing I see the most from him is he has this competitive edge that I think people see on the sidelines. It definitely is. The team last year, for example, like really took on his competitive fire. And I saw that even all the way back then. Like I remember we would play like pickup, as interns, everyone would leave for the day, and at 5:00 or whatever, if people are around, we'd go out on the court and play basketball, 2-on-2, 3-on-3 or whatever. And I remember one time for a few times we would just play 1-on-1, and Will was much better than me, and he would beat me all the time. We'd play like best out of 7. And I remember one day though, I got crazy hot and I beat him like 4 games in a row, swept him like 4-0. And I didn't think much of it. And the next day Will comes, he's like, hey, like at 2:00, hey, 4:30 or whenever you're done, we're playing again. And I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. So I go out there and he beats me like 4-0. I'm like, all right. So then the next day, hey, we're playing again. And so it was like 2-3 days in a row of him just mopping the floor with me just to like prove that. And I was just like, all right. So then after that, once he got it out of his system, I was like, all right, can we just go back to like playing like 2-on-2 or 4-on-4 or something like? So, but he had to like, there's no way I should have beat him all those times, but I did. And he was just so like, and I saw just like this competitive fire of like, I can't like lose to this guy. And so he just had to cream me like 4 times in a row.
Have you brought that up with him now that he's here?
I don't think I've ever talked to him about that ever since. Yeah. Like, because I just found it funny. Like for me, it was just like, hey, I got lucky and beat you, but it stuck with him for a couple days. So
I bet he's still thinking about it right now.
I don't think so. I think he's very, very confident that he is a better basketball player than me.
Were you wearing the shorts?
No, that might have been, I might have needed the shorts.
Okay.
That might have been what I needed.
Well,
You know?
next time,
So,
make sure when you do it now that you're advanced age, wear the shirt.
yeah, exactly.
Bring it back.
Exactly. I could bring back the trend. Has it been long enough for the trend to come back? Like, isn't it every
I think
30
so.
years?
I think so.
So
The Ox are coming back.
they are already.
Yeah. Cliff Paul has an entire campaign about it. Chris Paul, they're both in the baggy shorts.
Well, I'll have to get them. I'll have to go. I'll be the only guy buying them.
Bring them back.
So, yeah.
So how do you get into scouting as someone who was a front office intern to getting into the draft process?
Yeah. I think it's just natural for any front office person, honestly. Like, at least where I like being in San Antonio and being here, we've always given interns, as I've moved up, we've always allowed interns to grow by, hey, go to local games. So it's always just go to Utah, go to BYU, go to Utah State, UVU, Weber, like all the local things that are driving distance. And I remember when I was an intern, I was driving to all these games and driving through the snow. I remember there was one Utah State game, like I should not have been driving, and I was going through the canyon, and I'm like behind some truck, and I'm just like, I'm going to die on this road trying to make this Utah State game. And later I was like, that was probably the dumbest thing I've ever done, like all to just scout a game. But I think like when you're hungry and you want to learn, like you have to go to these games and you have to watch. And then it's just learning from, we had Walt Perrin, David Fredman that I learned from here, and then Justin, Dennis, obviously. And you just try to learn from those people that have done it before. Take what they've, the lessons they've learned from scouting players and what they value, and try to see kind of how you maybe see it the same way, and learn kind of what really goes into what makes an NBA player. And so I've been very lucky to have those people teach me. And then I think it's just, you're just constantly trying to watch as much film as possible if you want to scout. If you want to do scouting, like you have to just watch film and watch these guys play. You have to go to games live, and it's a lot of work, but you can't, it's hard to like if you don't watch the players, how do you know them? And so you have to, you just have to watch a lot of film. Really.
There's no shortcut to it.
Yeah. Yeah. We get asked a lot, like, what are the tricks and what are the things? And there really is no shortcut. It's just a lot of hard work. And then you got to be humble to, like, when you talk to, your colleagues and different things of, well, what do you see? And maybe, bouncing ideas off each other, and not being so like rigid in your stance of, no, this is what I see with this guy. It's you have to be open-minded and willing to accept other people's opinions, and then trying to go and see what they're seeing as well. Because it's really not about like, hey, I have to be right on this prospect. It's, hey, the group needs to be right on this guy. And so how do we make sure we're seeing this guy in the right light, in the right context, and that we're appropriately giving the coaches and Danny and Justin, the right kind of context and frame of reference for who we think this player is as a scouting staff.
Because like you said, people want to know, what's the trick? How do you get better at evaluating talent? And you think some people, maybe they're more innate to it, but it really is, it comes down to watching players and getting better at just watching the game and understanding basketball, as opposed to something clicking in your brain that, oh, this guy's going to be a star.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think everybody hopes it clicks like that, where you're watching somebody and, oh, this guy's going to be a star. But I think the thing with scouting is, like, people always, they want to be first to seeing somebody, or they want to call somebody, hey, I saw this guy like when he was 16 years old and I knew he'd be a star. And it's like, great. Like, I saw him when he was 18 before we drafted him, and we still figured that out too. So I think, like, it's not about being first to the prospect. It's just about, like I said, like, you just got to do the work, and you got to study them and watch them, talk to people, learn who they are as players, and as people, really. Because if the guy doesn't work hard, if he doesn't put in the time, if he's, if there's all these things off the court that they do, that you have to learn about who they are, because those are the things that will help them continue to get better. At the end of the day, they're getting into a league that, there's a lot of money, there's a lot of distractions, there's a lot of other things going on. And if they don't know how to like navigate all those other aspects to pro basketball, then the on-court product's going to suffer too.
So how many drafts does this make for you?
This has been 12 drafts. Yeah.
And this is pretty unique because the Jazz have 3 first-round picks as of this taping right now. What is the process that goes into having some picks in the lottery, late lottery, and then one in the back end of the first round?
Yeah, a lot of work. Our staff has been really grinding since the end of the season. We gave everybody about a week off, and then we jumped right into projects and studying, which is normal. Like, we normally do those type of things. It's just we have to do it 3 times as much. Like in a normal year, if we had one pick, like say we just had the pick at 16, we would still study the guys in the lottery and see, well, who do we want to move up for and what are trade options? But until like a real trade develops or like something really materializes that we think, hey, we actually can get into this range, let's start really zeroing in on who we would do this for. Usually we just kind of have a general sense of those players and, and we like them and we study them, but we really hone in on, okay, who are the guys at 16 that we would want, the 12 to 18 guys that could possibly be there. And then we narrow it down, obviously, to get who we think we want the most. But with the 3 picks, it's been, hey, we have to study the whole top 40, basically, and we need to know them because we could use 2 picks to move up. We could use picks to move back. We could, it's like we can move out of the draft completely and then get back in another way. So we've really had to narrow down who do we really like and who is in those, that entire range of players. So we've been studying a lot of guys, and I've been killing the staff on video and projects and discussions, but I think we're in a great place right now to make these selections.
I imagine generally it allows more people to be in the building that you're able to see because you have it at different levels.
Yeah, I was every agent's favorite guy. I was joking with all my colleagues that, people always complain about how hard it is to get players in. And I was like, everyone's coming to us. So it was very easy for me. I told Justin he can give the draft to somebody else next year when we potentially don't have a pick, and then I'll take back over in 2025 when we have 3 again. So it's easy. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun to talk to people. Like, we really, like you said, you're able to get a lot of these players in, and that's one of the fun parts of this process is getting to know these players and, taking them to dinner, sitting with them in interviews and talking to them and really getting to learn who they are as people rather than just putting them through a workout on the court and studying them on film.
Sounds a lot like speed dating.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. We try to be a little more, try to give them a little more time than just the 5-minute clock, but so.
You get to learn a lot about them. What are some goals that you want to see from whoever's drafted for Summer League and looking forward ahead with the players that you already have?
I mean, obviously we want to win the Summer League championship. That's the goal every summer.
Absolutely. Win a ring?
Yeah, exactly. I think the biggest thing is just having them come in and learn Will's system, learn them, like, as well, like our coaching staff learn who they are as players and people and where they can utilize them. I think I know every prospect wants to come in and just crush it and kill Summer League and do a great job, but it's more just, for us, it's more about them just getting settled, getting comfortable, making adjustments, learning the game, and learning our system and us learning them more than anything.
And playing with them themselves.
Yeah. We always want to, that's what we tell guys all the time, like coming into pre-draft prospect, like process, whatever it is, we've studied them. We know who they are. We know what they can and can't do. And we understand that there's things that they want to do better and more in the future. And we always just tell them, like, Will and his staff will have a plan for that. But right now, this is what you're good at. So just stick to this. And as you grow, we will grow you into those, other things that you want to do.
What are you feeling now until Thursday? Are you excited? Are you ready for it to already
Yes,
happen?
I'm definitely ready for it. We've put in a lot of work. I think now is more, we're trying to just finalize the last couple things that we need to decide on. And, I think I'm excited for Thursday to see what happens. There's obviously tons of rumors and you hear tons of oh, this guy's going to fall, this guy's rising, things like that. And I'm just excited to see what's actually going to happen and see. And really, this is the first draft we've had with Danny. So I'm excited to see how he navigates all of that and how he, the selections that he decides on for our group. We obviously trust him, and I'm really excited to learn that aspect of him as well, because that's something he's very good at. So I'm excited to see that.
I was going to say, he has a pretty good track record in this space, at least.
Absolutely.
It all becomes clear on Thursday as the Jazz are drafting at 9, 16, and 28. And we thank Bart Taylor, Vice President of Player Personnel, for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.